The purpose of this video is to give you a few tips about how to read these documents with comparison in mind, trying to find those similarities and differences across your document and your peers' documents. And so the first thing that I suggest you do is that you go back to the assignment sheets for WP1 and WP2. And then look for the specific central things that you're going to be looking for in each one of these writing projects. So for WP1, we're going to be looking at analyzing the features of writing, including how writers in your field use language, what citation they use, how they use non-linguistic elements, and how they organize elements. And so my first suggestion is to go back to your draft and identify each of these major points. So in your draft, I suggest you do a couple of things. I suggest you get used to the highlight feature. So up here, you can use this highlight color, and you can select text that's relevant to your points. So I suggest finding those main four things: the linguistic features, the non-linguistic features, the citation practices, and the organization, and try to identify them within your draft. Like point out what are those main things, and then use the comment feature in your draft to kind of summarize those points, to write little comments about what specifically is in those drafts that are the main points that you're trying to make. So let's say this one is telling about linguistic features. And go through your whole draft doing that same thing. So then I suggest you go to your peers draft and you try to find those exact same things. You look for the linguistic features, the citation, the non-linguistic features, and the organization. It's going to be a little bit harder to find them in your peers draft. In your draft, it was easy. You wrote about those things, so you should be able to just scan and find them really quickly. In your peers draft, you're going to have to read carefully. And so I suggest you reading carefully, using that highlight feature and comment feature to note them as you go through. After you have both of the drafts marked up, then you can start comparing those things directly. So take a look at the linguistic features in your draft and compare it to the linguistic features in your peers draft. Take a look at the citation practices in your draft and compare it to the citation practices in your peers draft. Okay, and then you'll do the exact same thing for WP2. So for WP2, you're specifically looking at your interviewee and their writing experiences, writing tips, summaries, quotations, and comparisons. So that's what you'll look for in your WP2, finding each one of those features, and then look for it in your peers WP2 so that you can compare across them. This will make it much easier to make kind of that one-to-one comparison. You can take a look at the writing tips that were given to you and see how those fare against the writing tips that your peer received from their interviewee. If you have any questions about comparing drafts, please feel free to let me know in the questions forum.